All right, it's showtime.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers, sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning to LL3 Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful realms of planet Earth. Today's date is Saturday, December 6th, 2025. Is episode 1920. Will Derek Chauvin be freed? Before I proceed, you can find me on multiple social media sites and podcast channels. Just type in Look Your Luck number 3, Look Your Luck Roman number 3, 3 eyes, or Look Your Luck Roman number 3 podcast. In addition, if you have questions, comments, recommendations, all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use decorum. Hit me via email to ll3.podcast@proton.me. If you want to donate, go to PayPal.me or Cash Out app /LookYourLuck number 3. Yes, I have to boldly admit I've been very lackadaisical for the past couple of weeks. Just had other things on my mind, focusing on a few ordeals, but that's how life goes. And I'm like, I gotta do a show now and then, but I'll try to be a little bit more consistent. But I do apologize for that. Oh man, just interesting times, right? I know tomorrow will be the 84th anniversary of the horrific event that happened in Pearl Harbor. And there's plenty of information out there that President Franklin Delano Roosevelt had prior knowledge before it occurred. And so always gotta look at the information thoroughly. So another false flag attack, according to a lot of the information that came out. Great merit, to be exact. But we still got to pay homage to the men that suffered that and World War II and beyond. Because we all know one thing. Who actually benefits? Those maggot-infested banksters. I can go on this matter. So I'll just make it pretty simple. So when you do, pay your homage to these folks and everyone else that suffered through wars, the soldiers, civilians, etc. Yeah, so I'm just browsing around here, watching a few video clips and reading some articles. Very interesting times, right? Yeah, so I just decided to talk about Derek Chauvin, who was filing for an appeal. So I'm going to be reading a couple articles here. This one came from Discern Report. Came out yesterday. Derek Chauvin is trying to get a new trial so the truth and real justice can finally prevail. That's what Carlos Loa has to say about it. Opinion piece here. Back in the spring of 2020, Minneapolis became ground zero for the national firestorm. George Floyd, a 46-year-old man with a troubled past, ended up dead during the arrest gone wrong, or so the story went. The ex-cop at the center of it all, Derek Chauvin, knelt on Floyd's neck over 9 minutes as bystanders filmed and shouted. What followed wasn't just a trial, but a spectacle that tore through the city, sparked riots across the country, and left businesses in ashes. 5 years on, Chauvin sits in a federal prison in Texas, serving time on state and federal charges, but now he's fighting back with a new petition that could crack open the whole narrative. Filed last month in Hennepin County District Court, the 71-page document from Chauvin's lawyer, Gregory Joseph, demands his second-degree murder conviction be thrown out. It calls for a new trial, at minimum, a hearing to dig into the evidence again. While the post-conviction relief stage of many criminal cases is generally something of an afterthought, this court is removed from the hysteria of the day and can finally look at the facts and evidence through a clear lens, Joseph wrote. The core of the argument, flawed expert testimony on how Floyd actually died. The Hennepin County medical examiner, Dr. Andrew Baker, ruled it a homicide despite heart disease, fentanyl, and methamphetamine in Floyd's system, and no clear signs of asphyxiation from the restraint. Yet 4 prosecution doctors learned hard on bystanders' video to push a different story, that Chauvin's knee caused low oxygen levels leading straight to death. Chauvin's team says that junk science cooked up to fit the moment. They point to autopsy records ignored by prosecutors, records that paint a picture of a man already in cardiac arrest before things escalated. Add to that police training angle, 3 Minneapolis police officers took a stand and swore Chauvin's knee on neck hold broke department rules. But since then, at least 34 current and former cops have come forward with sworn statements saying the department taught exactly that technique for certain situations. It's called MRT, maximum restraint technique, MRT. And it actually was in the Minneapolis Police Department's manual, training manual. So look that up. It should be public record. Added to that police training angle, 3 Minneapolis police officers took the stand. And sorry about that. The petition ties this directly to the 2022 book, They're Lying, the Media, the Left, and the Death of George Floyd by journalist Liz Collin and Dr. J.C. Chakes, which first aired those claims. It's kind of the detail that makes you wonder, were witnesses coached or just scared of the mob outside the courthouse? Jury instructions come under fire too. Chauvin's lawyers argued Judge Peter Cato botched them, feeding the panel of the version of the law that boxed them into guilt. All this, they said, stripped Chauvin of due process under the 14th Amendment. It's not the first swing. Chauvin's lost appeals in 2023, including one shot down by the Supreme Court. His federal civil rights plea deal sticks, landing him in 21 years concurrent with the 22 and a half year state sentence. Released not until 2037 or 2038, depending on good behavior. He even survived a brutal stabbing at Arizona's federal lockup back in 2023, stabbed 22 times by another inmate. The case reeks of a rush to judgment, fueled by streets on fire and a media blitz that turned Floyd into a symbol overnight. Riots cost billions, lives were lost in the chaos, and cops nationwide pulled back, letting crime spike in the years after. Floyd's toxicology report showed fentanyl levels that could fell an elephant, 3.0 nanograms per milliliter in his blood per the autopsy, right alongside meth. Baker himself noted in testimony that those drugs and Floyd's enlarged heart were major factors, yet the trial zeroed it on that video clip, looped endlessly as if 9 minutes of restraint erased everything else. Whispers persist that the fix was in from the start. Why else would top brass flip on their own training manual? Or why did Baker hedge on asphyxia, until the pressure mounted? The Fall of Minneapolis Collins documentary lays it out cold, suppressed, Bodycam footage, overlooked evidence of Floyd's resistance, and a narrative steamrolled by activists. It's easy to see a setup. Sacrifice one cop to douse the flames, damn the facts. If even half of Chauvin's claims hold water, it wasn't murder. It was a man with a badge doing his job in a split-second call amid a suspect high as a kite and fighting back. The Minnesota's AG's office has until January to respond. No ruling yet from the court, but the stakes couldn't be higher. A new trial wouldn't just free Chauvin, it forced a reckoning on how far the justice system bent to appease the crowd. Families still grieve, communities still heal unevenly, but truth doesn't bend to timelines or torches. If Chauvin gets his day in court away from the frenzy, maybe we'll finally get answers that stick. Until then, the doubts hang heavy and remind that justice rush is justice half done. And I have to agree on that viewpoint. But I'm going to read another article here that came from the New American, came out the 4th. So, says here, will Derek Chauvin be freed? There is now a serious challenge to the ex-cop's conviction. It is by Swellen Duke, Swellen, yeah. Alfred Dreyfus, Leo Frank, the Scottsboro Boys, Stephen Kisco, legions are on the case of men being wrongly convicted, then exonerated. And now a question arises. Will the case of ex-cop Derek Chauvin, found guilty in 2021 of killing criminal George Floyd, someday be among them? The answer will be yes if attorney Greg Joseph, who's now representing Chauvin, has his way. Joseph filed a memorandum in support of a petition for post-conviction relief on November 20th for former officer. He's seeking to vacate Chauvin's conviction and obtain a new trial. Joseph's filing challenges what he described as abusive prosecutorial conduct and the presentation of misleading or false testimony during Chauvin's trial, reported commentator John Dale Dunn, MD, on Sunday. Among the bombshells reported Alpha News recently is that 50 former and current officers provided sworn declarations stating that the technique used by Derek Chauvin was part of the Minneapolis Police Department training. This is significant because central to the case against the officer is that he used illegal restraint on Floyd. Anatomy of a railroading as a question. In a way, Floyd's 2020 death was 5 summers and 1,000 years ago. Prevalent at the time was a sort of mass formation psychosis, a mob mentality. Much of the country, liberal Minneapolis in particular, believed that an oppressive police jackboot was on Black America's neck, and Officer Chauvin, and that now famous picture restraining Floyd with a knee on the neck, appear to embody this. A pound of flesh was demanded. It's hard to imagine Chauvin getting a fair trial in this emotionally charged environment, and contends Joseph he did it, as Alpha News informed. In the 71-page petition filed in Hennepin County District Court, Joseph stated that this case simply never made sense. Among several key arguments, he pointed out how few murders take place before a crowd of witnesses while officers are working with dispatchers and requesting an ambulance and emergency response. Joseph also pointed out key facts and raised questions about how video evidence was used during the trial. He also underscored the potential for misuse of video evidence and the devastating effect that false testimony can have in court and the judicial process. The petition states that this case involved 2 key issues: intent of causation, that is, 1, whether the restraint of Floyd followed policies and procedures of the Minneapolis Police Department, and 2, if the restraint caused his death. With regard to intent and causation, Joseph stated in the petition that Chauvin's conviction rested on these 2 thin strands. In seeking to vacate Chauvin's conviction or obtain a new trial, the petition argues that Chauvin was deprived of his right to due process under the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and Article 1 of the Minnesota Constitution. I will leave that link on that on the page on the page of this episode under the Minneapolis Constitution, which is Bill of Rights. Okay. The lonely of facts. So first, what caused Floyd's death? The aforementioned Dr. Dunn, who's also a 40-year attorney, has often addressed this. Well, he says that claims the criminal died of a drug overdose aren't actually plausible. Something else is, as Dunn wrote in a July American Thinker article. In my opinion, a career emergency physician, based on the video showing evidence leading to Floyd's death and the autopsy report, Floyd's death was not a homicide. Instead, he died suddenly while resisting arrest because he had a cardiac arrest, just as would happen to the man with a bad heart exerting himself while shoveling snow. Andrew Baker, Hennepin County's medical examiner, wrote in the original autopsy report that Floyd showed no life-threatening injuries. In almost all cases, a sudden death with no injuries means a cardiac arrest, as any pathologist knows. Yet then something happened. The autopsy report evolved, as Dunn informed Sunday. However, as later documented in a November 2020 memo of the state and local prosecutors, Baker changed his position after phone calls from Washington, D.C. Pathologist Dr. Roger Mitchell, who warned Baker in 2 phone calls that he would publicly accuse him of misconduct unless neck compression appeared in the autopsy report. There's a discussion on this matter. Link for that within days. The final autopsy did include neck compression. Could we say coercion, duress on Dr. Baker? You could say it's possible. Absolutely. But I'll continue on. This convenient change was coerced because, as Dr. Dunn wrote in 2021, without a diagnosis of asphyxia, excuse me, I always got to get tongue-tied when I read these words here. The state could not prosecute the officers for murder. That is why Dr. Roger Mitchell was so critical in this tale of intimidation, and why this exhibit memorandum is so important. It reveals a naked attempt by Roger Mitchell to bully Dr. Baker in a conclusion that would enable a second-degree murder prosecution of the police officers. 3 other cops were also convicted in the Floyd affair, and one of them was a mulatto, a mix of half black, half white. Okay, so it wasn't a race thing. To all you faction slave peasants out there who have that triggerholic fetish, I'll continue on. Illegal restraint or lack of prosecutorial restraint. And what of that technique Chauvin used to restrain Floyd? Aside from the 50 officers swearing it was legal and prescribed, Dunn told us Sunday that Joseph's petition also details testimony from MPD officials. Joseph argues that this testimony falsely claimed the restraint used on Floyd was neither taught nor approved under MPD policy. I was aware these statements were untrue in 2021 because I had personally reviewed the MPD training manual, which included exactly these restraints. Copies of the manual were publicly visible during the trial. Both prosecutors and Judge Peter Cahill, who presided over Chauvin's trial, knew the manual's content, yet permitted testimony that contradicted. A major development occurred in 2024 when District Judge Edward Wall dismissed former MPD training official Kitty Blackwell's defamation lawsuit against Alpha News and its reporters for challenging the accuracy of his testimony. Defense attorney Chris Mado submitted extensive affidavits and evidence demonstrating that Blackwell's prior statements about the restraint method were false. So I'll continue on here. Judge Wall didn't stop with ruling in Alpha News' favor. He also dismissed the case with prejudice, required Blackwell to acknowledge the inaccuracy of her statements, order her to pay the defendant's legal fees. This outcome strongly reinforces the claims that Blackwell's testimony should not have been relied on during Chauvin's trial, and that any other testimony in lines with hers was inaccurate, as well as being incredibly harmful to Chauvin's case. A travesty. Dr. Dunn, who's also worked in emergency medicine since 1974, is convinced Derek Chauvin did not kill George Floyd. He knows the neck structure and states that the officer's restraint could not have caused death. Dunn has even recreated the scenario with himself in Floyd's place and a 222-pound man applying the knee. Dunn's oxygen level were measured during his test and never went below 95%. More could be said on this case, and for that, I suggest you read Dr. Dunn's exhaustive articles on the subject. It's found here, which I read the article on that. Very, very good stuff too. So the bottom line, however, is that justice was apparently not served in the Floyd case. Instead, the passion governing unwisely, a pound of flesh just might have been served to a praying mob. And that article they're talking about is called "A Finally Serious Challenge to Derek Chauvin's Conviction," which was November 30th, 2025. And even if you read the Bill of Rights in the state of Minnesota, there's good sections in here. Are 2 and trials, section 4, and even you can go all the way down to 7. You can say 7 too. And redresses of injuries or wrongs, you have to violate section 8. Okay. And let me see. I'm just going to go down here as well. And I say go check out section 16 also, where it says here the enumeration of rights of the Constitution shall not deny or impair others restrained and inherent in the people. So that's like the first sentence. So his natural rights have been violated. And another thing I'm going to add too is 2 videos on this matter. They're both YouTube. You can look it up. Full body cam footage of George Floyd arrest from police activity. When this came out? 5 years ago. Okay, cool. And of course, the documentary by Liz Coughlin did. The Fall of Minneapolis from Alpha News. Very good stuff. So I suggest people to really look at it if you haven't seen it. And I'll be very honest. It doesn't matter whether you like Derek Chauvin or not. Based on all the information I've examined, especially the body cam after his conviction, he has been deprived on his right to a fair trial. His rights have been violated. And all those maggots, scumbags, peasants, all you totalitarian hacks out there, if that time comes, if he sues you under Title 42, Section 1983, I hope he legally rapes the crap out of you. Financially, that is. Get him where you hurt the most. Because this man didn't deserve this form of justice. It is despicable. And don't get me wrong, folks. I've seen footage when the police officers were in the wrong. Okay? I make that real simple. I'll go real slow. I've seen footage and witness police officers do things in the wrong. But Derek Chauvin wasn't one of them. George Floyd killed George Floyd. That's why I recommend you watch that video, full body cam video, in its entirety before you try to call me out. You're not going to win. To all you commies out there with your little fist in the air, we're going to have another riot. You're going to be paid to go to town. That's not going to happen. You're going to get a lot more you can chew on. And here's another thing, too. Even the police are tired of it. There's some always tyrannical hacks in that department. Yes. In that institution, absolutely. But when it's right is right, when it's wrong is wrong. So I hope Mr. Chauvin appeal will be honored. Now, hopefully he should go after Tim Waltz too. All those maggots. And even the former police chief. Get every single one of them. If they start crying, I'll give them a dirty underwear they can put their tears on. That's how I see things. Well, I was going to make this one pretty brief anyway. So that'll be it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share throughout your social media networks. Any questions, comments, recommendations, all that good stuff. Whatever you do, please use the form. You can hit me via email to ll3.podcast@proton.me. If you want to send me some donations, you can go to PayPal.me or cash.app/lookluck3. Like I said, I've been very lackadaisical. Go on Steam it. I may just revive it, but I'll let you know for sure, okay? Hey, but support those other sites when I narrate it, and you can give them a little love too, okay? Well, that's all for now. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.